In today's 14th knitting podcast episode, it is going to be a little acquisitions heavy. Plus I have a little FO and a few whips to show too. So if that is something you would like to see, then just keep watching. I'd love to have you here. Hello, welcome back. My name is Holly-Beth and this is my Cozy Corner. Here we have been documenting my steady handcrafting journey, mainly knitting as a beginner from project 1 up until now. We do a bunch of handcraft related things here and going forwards, and I'm so excited to chat with you about what I've been working on. So grab something cozy to drink, maybe even something that you're working on, and let's just jump straight in. As always, I tend to start off with a mini little catch up. However, I put chapters in every single one of my podcast episodes so that you can get to whichever part you're more interested in, and you can find these either down in the description as timestamps or scrolling along the screen at the bottom here. But let's talk about, just have a little catch up between us. So last time I recorded, I hadn't been very well. I had COVID, etc. I am very happy to say that I'm feeling a lot better than I was even then. I am still struggling a little with certain long-term COVID symptoms, but overall I am feeling so much better. Yeah, I just wanted to add that in because I know some people were asking, how are you feeling now, which is really sweet. But yeah, that is how I'm feeling. This might sound a bit random, but there are some birthdays coming up, so some yarn has been ordered, and yeah, so we're going to go through acquisitions at the end, but for now let's just start with my one little FO. And my one little FO is this, my little hat. Honestly, this just sticks to everything. It's like a magnet. My goodness me. So this is my, I guess it's my colourful beanie. I started making this actually, not for me, for my brother for his 21st birthday in January. And then we just decided that actually no, the green beanie that I had made before would be better. So he had that. It was already about almost just over halfway. So I was like, okay, well, I'll have this. And I mean, I'm quite chuffed with it, to be honest. It is a 2x2 ribbed beanie hat. Nothing too special. It is knit on 3.75mm needles, and the yarn was a yarn that I found in Norway, actually in a secondhand store. Turns out there was 3 of them, not just 2, because the first one had a whole skein wrapped around it almost. So I still have a whole skein left of this. I'm not really sure what to do with it. I suppose I could maybe make a little matching baby hat, but I don't have a baby to match with, so. But anyway, it is using this Arlen, I think that's how you say that, royal tweed, and this is 40 grams. There's 100 meters in it per skein. It's 70% wool, 15? 30, that's not how 100% works. 30% polyacrylic, and the colorway is 1367, and it's just a really cool navy blue with colorful flecks throughout it. Maybe it would be easier to just show you the hat for that, but it's really cool, and it was actually quite fun to work with. It was really interesting to see like the colors come along. That sounds really weird, but yeah, every other hat I have made the biggest size because my gauge was a little bit interesting, and usually as well the people that I've made hats for have quite the bigger heads. Because this yarn is slightly heavier on the weight, and I don't think it's upper category, but it's definitely a heavy DK, possibly, I decided to do the size down, like a second to last size situation when it comes to how many stitches to cast on, and I mean it fits me fine. So I think that was a good idea to go down. But yes, that is my one and only finished object of the last few weeks, is my colourful flecked beanie. Okay, so if we move on to whips next, that means that if you were in the last podcast, you will know that my goal was to get the hat finished so that I could get the needles back for the crop top that I'm working on. And thus, it has the needles back again. Oh God, it looks tiny, doesn't it? This is it's my third actually, my little secret crop. Some things to note is that this shouldn't be this thick. This is a decision that I have made to do. Just thinking it might fit a little bit better. That's the hope anyway. Of course, a wonderful 3x1 rib. I love this pattern. It's just that I knew that if I didn't finish the hat first, the hat would just kind of be sat there and be forgotten about. So I'm glad the hat's done, because then it means that I can continue with this, and hopefully maybe by the next podcast I'll actually have another wearable finished object as in like clothing garment situation. Let me pull these up because I'm kind of scared I'm going to lose stitches with how I'm throwing it around. So My Little Secret Crop by Jessie Made Designs is the pattern. It is paid pattern, but it's a fantastic one. Most knitters know of / have made it. I am almost on my 3rd skein. Well, I know it's not the 3rd skein. The first one, I started off with one that was maybe half used, under half, which ended up being this whole bottom rib part actually. From here to probably maybe a couple more centimeters, maybe no, probably a row maybe, is how much one skein has done for me. So the yarn itself, the sun's coming out, isn't it? Typical. So we're getting blinded. This is all the yarn I have left allocated for this top, and the grey, the darker grey, is what I'm going to hopefully use for the top part and the straps. I can't see anything, so I'm just gonna hope that I can actually get everything into frame. So you can see me, but I can't see you. So it is this brand here. It is the Mick brand. It is the merino wool. I think it is superwash. Yeah, superwash, 100% superwash merino wool. And I have one more light grey skein left to do the whole rest of this part here, which is actually cutting it fine a little bit. I think this is going to be an interesting situation to see that if I do have enough yarn for it. Actually, I'm really excited to wear it. This has been on the needles, oh my goodness me, this has been on the needles since the start of January. I was working on it for a few days and then got sick. It just, obviously then with the hat stealing the needles, I only put the needles back on a few days ago, and I've possibly only knit 2, 3, 4 rows at most. So it's safe to say that there's practically no progress at all since last time, but this is the turning point where next time there will be, if it's not finished, there will be a significant amount of progress. Yes, as always, I'll put the yarns that I've used on the screen for the colour codes. The colour code of the light grey is 203, which is like the light grey. And then again, off the top of my head, I don't remember this one yet, but we're also not on the dark grey yet, so I don't feel necessarily obliged to do it, because I feel like before it actually goes into the garment or the project, it's kind of just an idea rather than it's actually been started. So that's my 2 cents on that, I suppose. But it is back on the needles, or the needles are back on the project rather, and there will hopefully be some progress on this super soon. I am actually looking at more and more. I have the pattern, I bought it a while ago, is the, I don't know if it's the no, I don't remember the name of the pattern now I'm actually talking about it. The name of the pattern that I'm thinking about starting soon, I'll put it on the screen because my brain can't think of what it is actually called, but it's one of the bralettes, and I have the pattern. I bought it a while ago, and I've read through it again. The first time I read through it, I was like, whoa, there's a lot of words in here. Not a lot of words, but a lot of different abbreviations and things like that, and I was like, I don't know how to do that. The realistic part of it is that I could literally search up every single abbreviation onto YouTube and find how to do it, and then just take it just like step by step. So I might do that soon. But anyway, we're not talking about that, we're talking about this. This is now back on the go, and hopefully there'll be some progress next time. Okay, the next and final whip, so there's only 2 whips, is this blanket, which I'm kind of, it's literally not a big deal, it's literally not, but I kind of wish I'd managed to get that final square done just so I can kind of show it as like a square. Damn it. So it is, the pattern I'm using is the coziest The Coziest Memory by Kemperay. Let me just get the ends out of the way. I am using it as a baby blanket for my brother. So my brother and his girlfriend are having a baby in May. Yeah, I have got almost a 5x5 square situation going on, and my plan going forwards from now, once this square is done here, is to continue going that way and down and just kind of making it bigger until I run out of yarn, basically. So this is working really well as like a stash busting project, because it's a blanket that's going to my niece, and yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's gonna get pretty, I think it's gonna end up getting pretty big. I don't really want to end up with a lot of this yarn left over. I really would like to try and use up as much of it as possible. Stop them from clinking. That's how far we are with that. I will mention this every time. Obviously there is a square that's different. My plan is that obviously that's like the bottom for you is the bottom left, I think. My plan for that is to put her initial on there. They have decided on a name, but like quite early on they decided her name, but you never know. You never know what's going to happen. So I will do her initial last. I'll probably just get some sort of like, I'll probably like use the sewing machine for that and probably sew it on rather than stitch it on, because it is a bit of a garter stitch pattern going on. So the way that you do this is that you knit one square, and then you can really see it with the way one that I'm actually on. You pick up the stitches on either side, and then you knit, and then so you don't make the squares and then sew it together, although that is what I did at the start because I kind of messed up on the square. And then for the bits where there is no side, you cast on, and then yeah, so it's really nice. We are going to have a stream or two to fix this situation because there's quite a few ends going on, but that's fine. I've mentally somewhat, I can't really say prepared myself, but I've mentally come to the idea that that is what we are going to need to do, and that's fine. It just gives me time to spend with yous on a live. So that's how far we are with that. I am almost on the 5x5, and then I'll just keep doing a row each time. I'm a little bit stucketh. The yarns that I'm using are acrylic nylon yarns. They've been in my stash for a while. Look at this little cake. I've almost finished my first pink, and it's actually quite exciting to me. I mentioned this a little bit more in my previous podcast when I mentioned a lot about these yarns, but I have an extra yarn in here ready for hopefully if I can get a border done. Alas, I'm not going to talk about this properly until we're at that point, or we're thinking about it a little bit more. And then I have two of these peachy colours, so one of them each. These are 50 grams each. They have about 206 meters in each. These are the brand Chanel, and it's the baby 4-ply. They are 60% acrylic, 40% nylon. And then the white, the Jarrell baby 4-ply is super soft, and it's also like moving over a little bit here. It's also 60% acrylic and 40% nylon. However, this one, so these are 50 grams each and have about 206 meters. This is 100 grams, so is already double the weight. It has about 410. So my thought is that they kind of match together on the amount that I have. I will hopefully be able to use a good amount up. I'll have some pink left over, I think, off the top of my head. I think it's the pink I'll have some left of, but that's where we're at with that. So I've almost finished my first little cake. I've probably got maybe 2 more squares out of that, and that's kind of generous. The white is still very much going very strong. But yeah, that's my baby blanket for my niece, or for my brother and his girlfriend for my niece. The pattern as well, I just want to mention, recommends a 2.75 millimeter needle, and it uses sock yarn. Obviously this can be adapted, which is what I've done. These yarns recommend anything from a 2.75 to 3.25, and I have not done that. I'm using a 4mm needle because I don't want to use anything smaller than a 3. And I could have used a 3.5, but again, I would rather use a bigger needle and it be a little bit more of not a holy fabric, but something that is not as dense as it should be. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with how it's looking. I'm fine with how it's coming along. And yeah, I just didn't want to use anything smaller for a whole blanket that's due for May. Well, probably before, because I don't think I'll be taking this with me, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But that's the final whip. I guarantee you, as soon as I finish with this recording, where I want to do B-roll, and I would love to use the sun for that, I bet it won't be out, and then I'm gonna get really sad. I'm debating on whether to do B-roll now and come back to do my acquisitions. I'll be right back. Okay, dare I say it, I think the sun has gone behind a cloud for a bit, so I think I'm gonna try and get through my acquisitions a little bit now. A lot of these are gonna have B-roll, particularly the first section. I'm just going to do B-roll because they're wrapped up and they're not really that easy to show now. I mentioned in my last podcast that me and my mum, we went to a secondhand charity thrift store. They had so much yarn that I could have taken, but I didn't. But I didn't get to show everything last time because I put everything that was of a possible animal fibre / just a few other things that looked a little bit like maybe it could be beneficial to do so. They went straight into the freezer. So obviously they came out. I can now easily talk about them. So the first thing that I got was a big cone of 100% wool, is what it says on the label inside the cone. This is like a lace weight. It's so thin. So this will have to be something that very much gets double, tripled, maybe even quad up, which is gonna be really difficult to cone, but it might end up being that it's just easier to wind it into cakes. I'm not really sure, but it's a brown color and it's really nice. It honestly was the label saying that it was 100% wool spun in Scotland that got me and made me want to pick it up. It might not be wool, but every single test that you can do where you can light it, you can try felt it, you can like do the spit spice method, as in if it breaks easy, any method that would try to be something that you can do to determine what it is, came back saying that it was wool. So I have that, and I mainly picked it up because I thought that it was such a good find, a good thing to find. So I picked that up. I think it only cost maybe like £4 for the whole cone. You can kind of see why I picked it up. And then I also picked up a little cone that was, again on the label it said that it was a silk wool blend, and it looked so nice. It felt so soft. It was wonderful. I'm not really sure how much is on the cone, considering there's clearly not the full amount on there. So I picked that up, and then there was also 2 cones. There might have been another one, but I thought I didn't think to pick that up as well, of like this, I don't think it is silk necessarily, but it's a very shiny, it feels very nice, this yarn. It's a 2-ply, it's very thin, but it looks silky, and my thought is that this would be very nice for a really nice vest top, or it's the type of creamy colour that would look nice as a very fancy garment, possibly wedding related. So I thought that I picked that up because I thought it was beautiful. And then I'm going to talk about these for a second. My nan, so I was meant to put that video out about the Aldi yarn at Christmas as well, but it never happened. So I am now thinking about leaving it until next Christmas and seeing what they come out with and comparing the two, because I have plans for the yarn, but I don't necessarily feel like I need to cast that on yet. That will get left, I think, until next year, around autumn time, I think is my plan for that. So it is coming, but not yet. But anyway, my nan was in Aldi. She gave me a call. She was like, okay, well, they have some yarn. And she was thinking, because of the amount of baby things that I'm making at the moment, she was like, oh, what about this? And I mean, the colour just isn't coming up on the camera as it is in real life, but it's a little bit, it's slightly paler than this, than what it's coming up as. But it is this beautiful, super chunky yellow, 100% acrylic. Now, I know that for washing purposes, acrylic is the easiest. I also do know that acrylic can be a little bit more of a... I'm not saying that acrylic is the best thing for baby clothes or anything related to baby, because of how flammable acrylic can be. So I would always say to anyone, you know, that is looking for the best material, that acrylic isn't necessarily the best material, but it depends on what the lifestyle is of the people that the gift is going to. For example, for me, because I know that I'm happy to hand wash things, that I know that I'm happy to knit things up in wool, and that can be the best thing. But as long as you are constantly observing baby, which most parents are, acrylic I think is just fine. Also, on top of that, acrylic isn't necessarily the most breathable material, but again, for ease of care and constant monitoring of baby, I don't see necessarily the problem when it comes to using acrylic for babies. And I mean, you have to remember that in the UK, pretty much all of our clothes are made of acrylic nowadays, so that would be something that I would love to see change in the future. That is very much a hopeful goal of mine. I don't know. Either way, right, anyway, went on to a tangent. She found these in Aldi. They only had one yellow, so she asked if I wanted them, and I said, well, actually, yeah, I don't have much super chunky yarn. I think that this could make something really nice. They come in a pack of 4. The yellow is called Sunshine, which is quite ironic given the current situation, and the purple is called Lilac, and they are just, they're so soft, they're super squidgy. Yes, I now have 8 more So Crafty yarn from Aldi, 4 in each colourway, for potential baby knits. And if I'm honest, if it wasn't acrylic, I think I would just say heck it and make a jumper out of it because I really like this yellow. I think it's so nice. If you are interested in picking some up from Aldi, they are £4.99 apparently. My nan said they were £4.99 for a pack of 4. So go wild if that's what you're after. Okay, there's more. Okay, it's a little bit later. We had to take a little bit of a interlude just because it got a little bit noisy. Where was I? Is the question now. I know we were still doing acquisitions. I have a few more things to show, and then that's basically everything for today. So quickly, I got myself some replacement needles for the needles that broke. I am still unsure as to whether it was a faulty pair of needles or if it was just, I don't necessarily see it as wear and tear because it was like the first time I'd used them. Either way, I have some replacement needles. I'm gonna give them a go, but it means at least then I can start making things needing this smaller circumference now. Circumference? Yeah, I guess a smaller size. I also got another little pattern book, and this is one that I've been wanting for a while because of a specific pattern that's in here. And actually, to be honest, the patterns are just really cute as well. There's just some really cute patterns in here. But if I can try and find the pattern that... So it's this pattern here that I was super excited about. It's this little coat. And I mean, the back is actually on the back of the book. Look at that. But the whole book is just, yeah. It's really nice. It's a lot bigger than I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be like a little leaflet. So to find that it was a nice, quite big book, I am very impressed. And I think if I get on with these patterns well, then I may get the others, depending on what patterns are in them and how much I'm looking at making them. Because let's be honest, you're always going to need baby patterns because there's always going to be babies, particularly at the moment. There are so many people having babies around me. So I got this and I'm so happy with it. I'm so excited to do that. And then the final thing, I put a short up about this. I made a order to Warehouse, and all of these have a a purpose, say. There's a lot of birthdays coming up, a lot of events and things like that coming up. So let's go through them quickly. If you'd like to see that short, then I'll also link that down below. Look at this sun coming through. I got 3 of the Drops Wish in the Bordeaux colour. I actually really wanted to try Wish anyway, but there was a specific reason why I got this, and I can talk about it because they don't watch, so it's fine. It is my granddad's 81st birthday. It's at the end of March, quite literally the last day of March, and he made a joke about making a Paddington Bear hat. He'd love one, which is basically a red bucket hat. I'm gonna try and find a gold like ribbon. I'm not really sure on the copyright situation with Paddington Bear, so I won't put a picture on the screen, but if you type in Paddington Bear, you'll know exactly what it is. But this is the closest colour I could get to red in this yarn. And the reason I got this yarn is because I'm going to follow, I've got a couple bucket hat patterns, but the one that I think will be not just the simplest, but also the most engaging for me to want to do it quickly with chunkier yarn is actually the one by Well Loved Knits, which is Bethany. And I mean, she's fantastic. She's just hit 100k subs on YouTube, and she's wonderful. I admire her massively, like as many knitters probably do on this wonderful platform. But she put out a pattern and I got it. She personally gave 2 options for what yarn, and this was one of them. And I thought, okay, great, it's a chunky yarn, it'll go fairly quick, which is good because I've got a month to do it. Fine, everything's fine. So that's what these are for. I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited. Drops Wish, it recommends a 9mm needle. I can't remember in the pattern what it calls for, but regardless, this is the yarn that she recommends for the pattern. So happy days. I think as well this colour really suits him. So does red as well. But I mean, you can see how far off it is actually to being red. But I think the thought will be there, and the content of this, I think, will. When we were in Hobbycraft, I could have very much got a similar yarn weighted red acrylic, but I kind of don't want to give him acrylic. I kind of want to give him things that are actually going to be helpful for him, you know, things that are gonna be just nice materials. I don't want to do it just for like a joke or whatever. I want to do it properly. This Drops Wish is 50% alpaca, 33% cotton, and 17% wool. So it's going to be nice and toasty for him. For a 50 gram, which is what this is, he gets about 70 meters. So I have 3 of those, and that is what that is for. I also got 3 sheepies stone washed yarn as well. I got one of the coral, yeah, and then I got 2 of the, I think it's moonstone, yeah, they're really cool. They even have these little like you know, the little pull tabs, the little easy start pull tabs, and I like to know exactly where the end of the yarn is. I'm really excited. So this is also from a pattern recommendation. I, a while ago, got, you know what, let me actually just grab it really quick. I was very kindly gifted both of these books, which is the Knitted Animal Friends, ooh, almost dropped everything, and the Knitted Wild Animal Friends, both by Louise Crowther. Obviously, because I have a little bit more time, I wanted to make one for my brother and his girlfriend's baby, my niece. So I said to them, okay, here's the books, any of them, choose any of them. Now I haven't got any yarn for the clothing side of things, so that might have to be an add-on at a later date, purely because of just funding and being able to get such a thing at the moment. They picked one out of here, the Knitted Animal Friends, and the one that they chose, they were really struggling with what one to choose. They chose this one, which is in the book known as Amelia the Duck, and I'm really excited about it. But this is the exact yarn that's recommended for that from the pattern, and that's what I'm going to that's what I'm going to make with these. A little Amelia the Duck, as requested from them. I have plans, if this goes well, I hope it does, because I would love to make more. I plan to make some more, so there could be more knitted animal friends in the future, but they chose the duck, so the duck is going to happen super soon. These might actually come with me when I go away. I'm not really sure. We will see. That's the plan with these ones. Sheepy's Stonewash is a 78% cotton and 22% acrylic. So it's really, really good for baby toys or kiddo toys. And then the last thing that's in this whole little warehouse order is a skein of Drops Kid Silk mohair, which is their mohair and silk base. I got this in the Moonshine colorway. There was no rhyme or reason to this color decision, but what this is actually for is so that I have a mohair in my stash at all times to swatch with, because I have Drops Air that I have been swatching for. Let me grab that as well, actually. We are having a full-on show and tell today, aren't we? I have this is gonna look very crazy to a lot of people. This was my first ever swatch. And then I swatched again, obviously. And then this is like the main swatch that I did to work out the needle sizing for one of the jumpers that I'm looking at, and also another slip over, which is fine. But it's a little bit, it's not quite as thick as I would prefer. And I know that a few people have made things out of Drops Air, but they have usually said maybe a year down the line, I wish I'd held it with something else to give it a bit more stability. So thus, it wasn't on purpose that I got the same colour necessarily. Well, it's not the same colour, but it's similar enough. I plan on trying to re-swatch the Drops Air, trying it with the mohair and seeing if that hits gauge a bit better, because if it does, then that's perfect, because then I can make sure that it's strong enough because of the mohair strand in there as well. So that is what this is for. I will be honest, I thought, it's not that it's not soft, I just thought the Drops mohair was going to be a little bit softer, but it's also incredibly cheap. So I am very happy with it regardless. And I'm really like super excited to swatch something up. I'll show you what the swatches look like maybe in the next podcast. I want to say this is the last podcast for a few weeks, because of the way that March is. It's like a 5 week, as for Fridays, it's like a five week month. So there ends up being like 5 Fridays in March. So rather than putting up 3 podcasts, I'm gonna separate it. So there's like a start of the month, which is this month, and then the end of the month. That seems a little bit more smart to me. So, but yeah, I'll probably show some swatches and work out what my exact plan is. But that is what this is for. So every single one of these in this Wool Warehouse mini haul, is what I described it on my short anyway, has a purpose and reason for me buying it. Yeah, so that is what I got from here. And if you watched my short and followed over to the link, that's what I plan on using them for. This is a mess. I have a lot to clear up, and this was probably quite a long episode, and not with a lot of projects actually. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed. I'm very grateful that you would sit down and listen to me talk about this sort of stuff. I'm really excited to see what projects I cast on, what I can get finished, what yarn I can use up, because I'm really trying to like work out my stash. I'm unsure whether I want to record that, like planning out my stash, like planning out projects compared to my stash. I'm unsure. I have a bunch of projects to be working on, a bunch of things to start. There'll be at least 2 new whips / finished objects, probably not 2 new things, my granddad's hat and the duck, that I want to have started before the next podcast. So there'll be those as well. We'll just have to see how we get on, really. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you for spending your time with me. I really appreciate you all. I quickly want to mention as well some gratitude to Ko-fi as well, because you have been so supportive. For those that have been supporting me on Ko-fi, it means so much and has really helped me out so much more than you'll ever know. If you would like to support me on Ko-fi, you're literally not obliged at all to do so, but the link will be down in the description if you would like to buy me a cup of tea or a coffee. Yeah, and I know I keep saying it, but streams will be back soon. There's some development with that. Yeah. I'm really excited, but it's like a nervous excited as well going forwards, but I am really excited. With that, I will love you and leave you, and I am just very grateful that you clicked on this video, and if you have made it to the end, I appreciate you all very much. If you did like the video, please do give it a like. It helps out more than you'll know, not just with myself, but also telling YouTube that you liked this content. Let me know what you thought of the video, any advice on anything, if you have a favorite thing, or just let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. It really does help out. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Do you ever just wish you could just squidge yarn just forever? I don't know. See you next week.